my goal is to inspire people to start sport or start training in any discipline possible. And I'm doing that through the medium of Kung Fu. But my mission is to inspire people to improve their well-beings, their mental and emotional and physical health. So I was just going to this school in China because I had this strong feeling that I had to learn Kung Fu. But a lot of people now, when they see all this stuff online, they see the temples, they see this, they want this beautiful experience, but they're forgetting that it's not external. Beautiful experience is internal. It's what happens within you. So when people come to my school, is they want to do their own thing. They want to play their music really loud by themselves and, whatever. But it's like, actually, this is a school. This is still, even though you're on holiday, this is a school where there are children living and learning. And you've got to be respectful and at least learn how to say ni hao.
Welcome to the Martial Mind Power podcast. I'm Jatinder Palaha with Sifu Lakloy, and we have an amazing podcast for you today. Sifu.
Thank you so much, JT. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm glad we're back here in the studio for
back on it again.
First ever, Double Trouble
That's
interview.
Right.
We've got an amazing guest today. We have got, she is a Shaolin practitioner. She's spent time over in China and continuously runs over there whenever she can. I mean, she would run over there if she could, if the water wasn't in the way. But she's also a triathlete, so she would probably swim as well. It's so much to talk about. But in the studio today, we have got the gorgeous, the amazing, the Shaolin Wonder Woman, Holly Suttle. So welcome to our studio today.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
You've come all the way over from Bristol today. So I think you said your journey was 3.5 hours before you got here. So about, I'd say just over 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming all that way. I really appreciate that. Big effort. And we're all here in the pursuit of spreading self-mastery inspired by martial arts. So
absolutely.
I know that you've got so much wisdom and stories to share with our audience. And we want the audience to know, who is Holly Suttle, our Shaolin Wonder Woman, right? Who is Holly? Where are you from? What do you do on a daily? What's your family like? Who's at home? Who are you? Give us a little bit of an insight into Holly and your life.
Well, I should probably say I come from quite a big family. I've got 5 little sisters and a big brother and 2 sets of parents. So I've got some family in Australia, some family in England. And I grew up in the countryside of England, surrounded by nature. So I was always outdoors, always, kind of playing outdoors. And then I've moved around a little bit. I've lived in Germany for a few years. I only moved back to England last year. So coming back to Bristol is kind of like coming home. Although my feet are itching to go abroad again.
So you're Bristol, for those people that don't know Bristol that well, Bristol is like the greenest city in the UK, right?
Oh, isn't it? I didn't know that.
That's
should
know
good
this.
To know. Yeah, you probably
Right,
should
see?
know that. I'm too busy doing Kung Fu.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like London's little brother, we call Bristol. London's cooler little brother.
Yeah, it's definitely the greener brother.
Yeah, definitely
It's London's kind of like the green city. It's lush, it's green, it's beautiful. And if you want to experience that English countryside, Bristol and the outskirts. And on the way to Bristol, you've got beautiful sites like Stonehenge. On the way there from London.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah, it's quite a nice drive, right? When the roads are clear, that is. But so you're from Bristol, but I wanna take your journey back to when you was young, and you just told me something earlier in our conversation that I think we need to start there, right? What happened when you was a baby?
So yeah, from earlier, what we talked about was when I was 1 year old, I had a pacemaker implanted. So I do have in my body a decommissioned pacemaker, which sits about there. It's still in me right now, and it's been there for a few decades. So yeah, I had some heart problems as a child, and I was told growing up that I would always struggle to do sport and that I'd always be out of breath and tired. And now I train 6 times a week in martial arts. So
JT, I mean, look,
I'm speechless.
we're saying with a miracle. I know that
Yeah.
they say that, you know, we're all miracles and we've got all like something like 1 in a gazillion chances of being conceived. But, you know, here all 3 of us are. But you, Holly, even more, right? So, you know, we are really sitting with a miracle here.
Yeah.
And I think there's a divine beauty here that, you know, when doctors say things like, you know, you won't be able to exercise, you know, you won't be able to have increased physical activity, all the other things that they said you wouldn't be able to do, we are now sitting with living proof that actually you don't necessarily need to prove anybody wrong, but you have proved the doctors back in the day wrong with all the things that you're doing right now.
Yeah, I think it's a case of, you know, obviously you need to listen to what they're saying, but you've also got to remember that your body is your body and your limits are your own limits, and you can push through those limits and you can improve yourself all the time. You can overcome obstacles and challenges. And that's definitely been something that I wanted to advocate for, was sport and for training for overcoming obstacles and challenges in life.
As we go further down this interview and our conversation, I think what's going to become apparent is that you've got so much love to give in your heart that a 1-year-old heart couldn't handle it at that time. So your body's slowly grown in to accommodate the power of all that heart that you've got to radiate out into the world here. And we want to bring that out in this conversation because I think it's just super amazing. And Holly, what do you do like in the daytime at the moment? What's going on?
Yeah. So I am also a senior communications manager. So I do have a day job in a big corporate, and I work in the strategy and planning team doing communications for a global media company. They own lots of magazines and newspapers and radio stations across the world, actually. So it's some household names. Like our radio stations are like Jazz FM, Kiss FM, Greatest Hits Radio, magazines, Scrazia Magazine, Good Housekeeping, Empire Magazine, all the Sudoku books that you do puzzles.
Oh, wow.
So it's a huge company and I love working there. They're really fantastic to me. But obviously, on my lunch breaks, I'm off running, and then every evening I'm training in Kung Fu, whether it's Shaolin, Lao Gar, or kickboxing. So I'm a very busy woman, and I think they might have a bit of a shock if they knew that I was a Kung Fu martial artist.
Do you think when you was 1, they might have put that gadget that Iron Man has in it?
I've been asked that before, you know, because it isn't the same as Iron Man.
Was it the reactor or something? Arc reactor or whatever, right?
Actually, it is made out of iron. So.
I think you've got an arc reactor in there, definitely. Something powering.
Secretly
She said it's made out of iron. That's the warrior's blade, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I do have to be careful because, like, for many years I couldn't go through the airports. Through the security, and still now I say, look, I'm not going to go through that because I'll set off the metal detector. And I also don't want it to interfere with the magnetic field around my pacemaker. It's an old-fashioned one, like all these, you know, your granddad these days will have a tiny one up here that's probably this big, but this is a proper old school piece of tech, so it's about yay big and a bit chunky. So it's still in there. Can you feel it? I can't feel it, but if they were to turn it on, or you know, the battery's now probably dead. But if they were to turn it back on, I'd be able to feel it coming on.
It would definitely glow blue, right?
It might glow blue.
So, you know, when you said it's decommissioned, right?
Yes.
If you don't mind, you know, like when did that happen? When was decommissioned, and then when did you get into martial arts?
Gosh, it was probably decommissioned many years ago. Like in my, you know. Like 10 years ago, I'd say. I haven't needed it for about 15 years. Or they didn't think I needed it for many years. Usually these kind of things only have a battery that lasts 12 years.
Right.
So they just turn it down to a really low heartbeat. And that's, you know, what they did. So they said if it did ever turn on, it probably would never turn on again. Martial arts. So I've kind of dipped in and out of martial arts in the last 10 years. I got really into my training in a really big way about 6 years ago. But the first martial art I dabbled in was actually Muay Thai boxing.
Yeah.
And then I was living in Thailand.
Yeah.
So another side story, I had a job in London and I wasn't enjoying it. So I quit my job in London to move to Thailand to become a professional scuba diver. So then I worked as a dive master out in Thailand. I lived in a little wooden hut on this island in the middle of nowhere. And I worked as a dive master. And then every day I trained in Muay Thai. And I had Samat was a man that was my Thai boxing coach. He was amazing. And I did that for quite a few months and then moved back to England again to get a proper adult job.
Yeah.
But that kind of started setting me off on the martial arts route. And when I came back, I was looking for another martial art and couldn't find my Muay Thai, so I joined a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club. I did that for about a year, but it just didn't quite click. I did have like a go at some other MMA within that. I did like a session of cage fighting and realised it absolutely was not for me. But then I kind of stuck in the triathlon, did my running. But I worked for a big corporate and I ran their touch rugby and basketball clubs because no one had the communications and PR experience to organise a club. So I ended up becoming the organiser and the coach for the club for 3 years. So I ended up doing basketball, touch rugby. Then I moved to Germany. Obviously didn't have my clubs there, so I started running and cycling and swimming. And we do mini triathlons everywhere. And then suddenly one day I woke up and Kung Fu was like, I have to do Kung Fu. And every morning in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to China to learn Kung Fu. And it was this thought that I couldn't get rid of until I went to learn Kung Fu.
So just rewind a little bit, right? You're going to say the same thing,
right?
Yeah. So there's a pivotal moment there, right? In that dream or in
that moment.
That moment. What was that moment? Let's kind of hone into that moment.
When I was living in Germany and had to learn Kung Fu?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
You know, you wake up one morning and Kung Fu! Kung Fu!
Literally, it was like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stop talking about Kung Fu.
Just rewind, like before the moment you woke up and the moment that thought hit you that's what it had to be. What happened?
It was a build-up actually. So I'd already was in this heavy training phase in my life where, I was a single woman living alone in Germany as an English woman.
Yeah.
And I had lots of great friends, but none of them were sporty in the way that I am.
Yeah.
And I would go running every day, 6 times a week. And then I'd run to the pool and swim in the pool, run back again. And then I'd cycle to work and back every day. So I was really into my sport. And I had this really sort of difficult corporate job that was not bringing me joy. And I just thought, this can't be it. This can't be, I need to get some space from everything. I need just to figure out what it is I want in life. Yeah. And I kind of was like, I want to go to a temple. I just want to live in a temple on the top of a mountain, somewhere far away, find inner peace, just like in the films, as they would say. Yeah. But actually that's what I wanted and that's what I was going to do. And when I've made a decision on something, I go for it. I'm very kind of determined in that way. Yeah. But I thought, how can I do my sport? Yeah. If I'm living in a temple on top of a mountain, I have to go running every day. Running was my go-to for every single problem I had in life. It would help me process. It would help me think. It would keep me calm. It was my form of meditation.
Was you running away from something or running towards something? What did running mean to you exactly?
That's a really good question. Running for me was a form of solving the problem. Because when you've got a lot of emotions trapped inside you and you're struggling to understand why you feel a certain way, you first have to unravel it and pick it apart and go, okay, how can I unpick this problem to find a solution to put it back together again properly? Yeah. And running for me has always been this way to process and adapt and to feel my feelings, to process these feelings, to process my thoughts. And then from that, I'll usually be in a state where I will get more positive thoughts coming in and solutions to and ideas, almost like a creative flow state that lots of people talk about in the sports world. And I'm sure you'll talk about in the martial arts world too.
It is your running meditation.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, it's interesting because some people need to, you know, maybe to recess into a quiet space to do that. You clearly, being a Bristolian, need to be out in nature running, and that takes you into that meditative space where you're getting that the clarity, the zen that you need, and the answers appear to you. And you mentioned, you know, I get the positive thoughts, but are they positive or are they just solutions that clarify your way ahead, and therefore they are positive?
Clarity. That's the word.
Yeah.
It's clarity.
Yeah.
If you've got a fog that is, you know, clouding you, whether it's sadness, pain, anger, difficult situation, firstly, you have to lift that fog in order to see what your options are and to see how you want to move forward.
Yeah.
And for me, running always, and training just always has been that thing that lifts the fog that I can see clearly and have perspective on a situation.
So when you said that the Kung Fu just entered your mind and they wouldn't let you go, was that during a running phase or did you just wake up with it? Like, what happened there?
Well, actually, I was Googling sports and temples. And I was like, I want to live in a temple, but I want to do sports. So I was like, maybe, you know, where can I go that is sort of, you know, holistic, and maybe I could go swimming, where there's got to be a wild lake or something. I need that nature. And I was Googling, and suddenly like Kung Fu came up, and I thought, okay, that's Kung Fu. I've never really thought of that. And then you could go to temples in China and train in Kung Fu, but obviously they were all Chinese and only spoke Chinese. And I went to bed that night, and I had this really strange dream that I died, and that I was speaking to some sort of god.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's really a really peculiar dream. But when I woke up,
No, tell us more about the dream.
that was it. I was speaking with this person in this white room, and they were meant to be some sort of representative of God or universe.
What did it look like?
Just white. Everything was white. And they sent me back. And I said, oh, you know, they gave me a few tasks, and I wish I remembered what those missions were, but they told me I had to do some things, and they sent me back. And then the next morning I woke up, and for some reason I was like, I have to go try and learn Kung Fu. And every day from that moment, I was just obsessed with the idea of learning Kung Fu. And I'd watch Kung Fu videos online, and I was Googling Kung Fu schools. And the only reason I chose my particular school was I was like, what if they don't take women at the school? What if it's only men? Yeah. And what if they don't take foreigners? Yeah. But I saw a picture of this one Kung Fu master smiling, and he had this really lovely smile. And I thought, I want him. I want him to teach me Kung Fu. This is the one. And
I want that one.
Yeah. So I found the email, wrote to them, wrote it in Chinese, and used Google Translate to translate it. And I thought, gosh, they're probably never going to write back to me.
Right.
And they did. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Yeah. 2
questions for you. In your vision, you mentioned they gave you some things to do, instructions to do. Do you remember what they were?
I have no idea. I'm really bad at remembering my dreams, and I have the wackiest dreams. But
they will unravel themselves.
I'm hoping so. I feel like there was a purpose to it. Yeah, and I'm hoping that I will find what those things were that I have to do. But I'm certain that I've met lots of people in the last couple of years who've really changed my life in big ways and have made me become the person I am today. So I know that I have some sort of mission with this, and I hope I can pursue it.
See, what was interesting was when she said she thought she died, right?
Yeah.
And we'll reference something like Bruce Lee there. We'll say like The Art of Dying. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. Which is also about letting go of old things, taking on a new form and things like that. Yeah. So when you said that, I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Just tapped into the art of dying there.
Learn the art of dying. We'll all get messages in different ways. Yeah, like you. I also get my messages through dreams and my callings through dreams. And I think my mum, she always gets her messages through dreams as well. So there's something communicating with you at that time. You said something like God, let's just call it God, you know. some divine being that you know who it is, but you don't put a name or a face to it. It's just a trusting voice. You trust it to the point that you went and acted on it. Well, if some rando told you to do something, you'd probably ignore it, right?
Yeah.
But in that moment, you didn't. And next thing you know, you woke up that morning screaming and shouting, I must do Kung Fu.
My friends thought I was crazy. I didn't stop talking about it for about 6 months. I literally, every day I'd be like, I want to go to China to learn Kung Fu. And they'd be like, Holly, stop it. Like, why do you keep on saying this? Like, one of my friends said, Holly, you really liked going to Japan. Why don't you go back to Japan and do something? I was like, no, it has to be China. Yeah. And I had no desire before to go to China. And I don't know where this desire came from. It was super random. But it was so strong. It was such a strong feeling. I literally could not shake it. Yeah. And I had to do it.
My second question was going to be, did you find Kung Fu or did Kung Fu find you?
Kung Fu found me. Yeah.
Exactly. Your path is there, isn't it? And that there's a lot of power in that, right? Because, you think you're doing the Google searches, you want to be in a temple, you want to be doing some physical activity, some sports. And you come across your searches and so on, and Kung Fu might be in there, might not be in there, whatever it might be. But then you have this, it's, people call it an epiphany, but it's a lot clearer than that. It's a conversation, it's a message, it's a direction, it's a directive, and a calling to oneself.
Yeah.
And I know that you mentioned that, you have a calling. Now, is this the calling that you refer to as the calling? I just want to clarify, or is there another calling?
I would say I have a mission. And my mission is, my goal is to inspire people to start sport or start training in any discipline possible. And I'm doing that through the medium of Kung Fu. But my mission is to inspire people to improve their well-beings, their mental and emotional and physical health. And I can see the benefits it's had on me, on my friends, my family members, and other people I've met, both in the martial arts world, in the sports world. And I think training is so positive on both your community, your persona, your character, everything that you learn through sport, through physical fitness and training is so positive. And I believe that needs to be shared and, inspire people to start doing that to improve their own lives and their own happiness.
When you was a child and you had your Iron Man arc installed,
my pacemaker.
Right. It's the Iron Man.
The Iron Man heart, okay.
You're a superhero. I know that we get served things in life that are going to help us reveal who we really are. And in that time, you must have had like people being super careful around you, making sure that you're not overexerting yourself. And you're a 1-year-old. There's so much you can do, but this is quite an exciting phase of life where you're discovering the power of walking and running and movement. You've gone from what seems to be being somebody that was potentially limited in movement to somebody that is now found the wonderment and the magic in movement. What do you make of that? How do you see that? How does that fit with you?
Yeah, I would agree. I do think I was always sort of told there were things I couldn't do, and I always wanted to prove them wrong. And it's not always about proving people wrong though, but it's about proving yourself right when you know you can do it, pushing your limits. And I remember having a PE teacher at school. Her name was also Holly, actually, and she was really, really positive, really motivating. And she said to me, "I'm always she said to my mum at one of my parents' evenings, that she was always inspired that I would still be so sporty, despite the fact that I had a pacemaker. Because many people would use it as an excuse to not participate and to sit on the sidelines. But I've never been the kind of person that wants to sit on the sidelines. And I think in terms of my mission and life goal, I suppose, perhaps there is an element of that was meant to be a challenge that I had to overcome as a child. I was slightly a special child. I was a little bit away with the fairies. So, my parents actually thought I was deaf for a while because I'd get so in my own mind and so focused on things, really hyper-focused, that I wouldn't be able to hear anything. Like I wouldn't be able to hear someone saying my name. I'm a fully grown woman and I still have that sometimes. So
it's tunnel vision.
Yeah. But it's just like hyper-focus. And when you're really deep in thought, you're just somewhere else and not present. You can't quite hear what's going on.
It's funny they call it tunnel vision, but it's also tunnel hearing.
Yeah. My mother would call it selective hearing.
No, seriously, when you go into a state of tunnel vision with focus, and with that focus, there's a certain type of adrenaline that's still coursing through your veins. Your hearing does switch off, right? So people that do get into fights, and they've got a loved one saying, "No, come on, don't get involved." Can't hear them. They're right there, screaming the loudest, right in your ear. You can't hear them because you're just seeing what's happening ahead.
And it is a form of being present.
Yeah,
it is a form of being present because you're in that moment, and it's a form of rapport because you're so in that moment, you're so in rapport with that thing that nothing else. You don't hear anything else because you're in alignment with that thing, whatever that is. Like I say, you're in a fight situation. That's what you're focusing on.
Actually, I've been watching lots of boxing videos lately because I do kickboxing and Muay Thai, and I've been kind of researching about fighters and how their mind works. And you're absolutely right. When they focus in, suddenly they're in the ring. They block out everything else, and they stay really calm and they get in that flow state, and they just are so focused on the task at hand. That I guess it's tunnel vision, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Again, it's a superpower, right? You just cut the world off around you when it doesn't serve you, so you can focus a task in hand. Obviously, as a martial artist, that there's a time and place that you can afford to do that. In the midst of combat, you need to be switched on in all faculties, right? which is a whole different type of state, right? So I guess this brings. I'd love to talk about your Shaolin journey because, a corporate professional, by day you're balancing. You're currently just facilitating, or should I say, enabling your true path. For the viewers that are watching this, Holly's come in her Shaolin outfit today, right? So I want to give that a mention because she's traveled all the way from Bristol, ready to kick ass.
I know you.
I bet nobody's messed around with you. So nobody bumped into you on the way here. Everyone's like, "Oh, okay."
I am training straight after this tonight, so
that's amazing. Where are you training tonight?
Well, I've got a friend who specialises in nunchucks.
Okay.
He's a stunt actor, so we're meeting up in London to do some
wonderful.
training.
Oh, wonderful.
Because I'm missing my training in Bristol tonight because I'll do 2 hours of training on Saturday evenings.
Wow.
So I was like, right, well,
Dedication.
I've got to fit my training in somewhere. When I say I train 6 times a week, I mean it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So tell us about your day training as a Shaolin practitioner. And how does that look like in terms of like Shaolin monks? And, are you on the path to becoming a Shaolin monk? It's quite a lot there, but...
I really love Shaolin practice. I am a big believer in things like qi and intrinsic energy. And, the sort of the qi that flows within it. So I do believe things like qigong are amazing for your bodies. And that, again, is a form of meditation, it's a form of calm. And it is about moving the energy around your body and having that focus and mindfulness. So I do believe that these are things that we don't know much about. But Shaolin practices and, traditional Chinese medicine, they do know a lot more than we do when it comes to the link between your body and mind.
Yeah.
And so I would like to learn more about that side of things on top of my physical training. I think it's almost a form of mental training.
Yeah.
I will admit I am the worst person at meditating because I am so antsy-pantsy the whole time that sitting still for me is hard. So to meditate, you really have to clear your mind, and Tai Chi is a form of meditation.
Yeah.
So my master in China is always saying, Holly, do some more Tai Chi, do some more Tai Chi, because you have to stay grounded and focused, but it still has that movement and you're still flowing. And then therefore you're able to kind of have that meditative state while still training. And it's a little bit easier to do that than just sitting down and meditating. So that's a good way to start. In terms of Shaolin life, I have started meeting more Shaolin figures around the world. Actually, there was a martial arts convention in Bristol the day I flew to China that I went to, where we met.
Yes.
And there was a real monk who lives out in China, and he'd come over to England to visit some family. But he was extremely calm, extremely quiet, and he was so fully devoted to being a Buddhist monk that he'd burnt off 2 of his fingers as part of the practice, because part of their practice is suffering and pain. So he had 2 of his sort of fingers missing from the knuckle down. And I thought, goodness, that is such devotion. But, to me, that would be too far that way. I wouldn't ever recommend anyone hurt themselves. But there is a level of experiencing pain in Shaolin practice that I do believe in. I'm sure you've all seen me being hit with sticks, and that is a big part of strength conditioning. So that is a big part of making our bodies stronger. But I also believe that if you can handle that pain, you're going to be able to overcome more challenges in life in general. So in terms of Shaolin practice, I do love going to the temples. I do have favorite temples, and I find them so peaceful and so spiritually cleansing to be there. I would recommend to anyone that visits China to visit temples.
Was there something earlier on you were sharing about a dream you had? Is that something you like to talk about? Like the yin yang in the temple, the mountain you were sharing?
I feel like we'll be talking about all my dreams.
Well, the thing is, your actual physical expression is playing out from your ethereal sight.
Yeah, probably.
So, and the good thing is you're an action taker. You don't take your divine downloads lightly. You take them as serious messages. You know the gravity behind the instructions as a reminder to who you are. And the story that JT's referring to is well remembered, by the way.
Well remembered.
Would you like to share that with?
Okay, I will. So I did, 6 years ago, again, with my wacky dreams when I'm sleeping, because I have the fastest mind. I'd never had any desire to go to China before. I have traveled the world. I've been Africa, India, Australia, America, all around Europe. And I love traveling. And I don't tend to like to go back to places I've already been, because I'm like, why would I go there again? I've also lived in Germany and Thailand. But China was never on my list. Japan, I love Japan because I love, all the anime and Studio Ghibli. But China, I had no interest in going to China. And I had this dream that I was climbing a mountain in China. It was about 6-7 years ago.
This is you in Bristol, yeah?
This was when I was 6-7
time?
years ago. I was living in Malmesbury. I was living in England in the countryside. Very small town. Very, very different to how I am now. I hadn't actually even started doing all my big sport at this point. So I was doing, basketball and touch rugby once, twice a week, but I was not into my training in the heavy way that I am today. Or even 5 years ago, because this is pre that. So this is really, really early on. And I just had this weird dream that I was climbing this mountain in China. I have no idea why it was China. Didn't know what the dream was.
Was it Green Mountain, snow-capped?
Yeah, it was green. It was a green mountain, but it was, green forests. And I was going up this hill at this mountain, up all these stairs. And at the top of the mountain, there was this temple. And then there was a stream and all these fish were coming out the stream. And I thought, gosh, there's so many fish in the stream that they were all falling out. And I ran to save them and pushed all the fish back in the stream because I was worried that they were going to, die. But luckily they all survived and I saved the fish. And then because I'd saved the fish, I was told that I would get a blessing if I went to the pagoda. And in the distance, there was this beautiful pagoda. So I went to the pagoda.
Was it on the same mountain or a different mountain?
I don't know. It was on the same mountain, like the temple, and then the pagoda was just a little bit further.
Yeah.
So I went to this pagoda, bearing in mind I'd never been to China, never been to a Chinese temple, never been to a pagoda, didn't really know what one was. And in the pagoda, there was a yin-yang symbol. And then I woke up from the dream, and that thought nothing of it, but I write down my dreams. And then when I went to China for the first time, we were told, okay, you're climbing a mountain. And then we climbed the mountain that day. On the mountain, there's a temple. And in the distance, there's a pagoda. And I was so adamant that I had to go and see what was in this pagoda. I went inside. I looked up. And on the ceiling of the pagoda was the yin-yang symbol.
Wow.
This is in the temple that you're at?
This is in China. This is the Fawang temple. Yeah.
And this is
my
your
favorite temple that I go to and train in China.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You'd already seen it.
Goosebumps.
You'd already seen it.
Yeah, I kind
amazing.
of feel like I had a very surreal, slight freak out when I realized that I thought that, I was like, is that what a premonition is? But, I'm never sure of anything, but I did think this was definitely very symbolic and very meaningful that I'd sort of had this dream, but so many years prior to going to the temple.
So what was the time frame between this dream vision and you actually really immersing yourself in the Shaolin life?
Like 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What
The
took you so
only
long?
reason I have crazy dreams all the time, so I just thought it was another crazy dream until I write journals.
Yeah.
So I went back and I was reading some of my old journals and I found it and I read it and I was like, I remember this. And then I was like, oh my goodness. But I read it before I went back to China. When I went to China for the first time.
Was there a reason why you went back to that journal? And
Yeah, I was moving. I was leaving Germany. So I was moving out of Germany and I wanted to just pack all my stuff together. And so I have literally 30 journals from the age of 12 onwards. So I have books of my life basically just written out. And I thought I'll just I was feeling nostalgic about my, moving country again. And so I was looking through them before I left Germany, went to visit my family in Australia, and then went to China for the first time.
there's no accident that she went to that journal. That's not an accident. That wasn't a coincidence either. You had to see that bit of information, that memory to remind you, hello, Holly.
Go to China.
You see, I had this question, right, which I've written down, and I don't think it's valid anymore, but I'm gonna say it because then it'll give you the context of where you're at with this.
Yeah.
And I wrote, many imagine the Kung Fu life through movies and myths. What did you imagine the Shaolin life would be like, and how did reality compare? But that's not a question anymore, is it?
Actually, that is a good question. Because I think a lot of people, they have expectations. And this is why it's probably a good question to address. So when I first went to my school, I had no expectations. I had no idea what Shaolin life was.
But you just had a vision.
Yeah, but that was, for me, that was a dream. I didn't link the two at all.
Yeah.
And so I was just going to my school, this school in China, because I had this strong feeling that I had to learn Kung Fu.
Yeah.
But a lot of people now, when they see all this stuff online, they see the temples, they see this, they want this beautiful experience, but they're forgetting that it's not external. Beautiful experience is internal. It's what happens within you. And my school is just open to foreigners in the last year or two.
Yeah.
So it's very basic. It's very rural.
Yeah.
We only just got chairs and tables. We used to sit on the concrete floor and eat the same rice soup for every meal. We've now got like more exciting food options. And now we've got chairs and tables to sit on. It's amazing. I was like, this is
what are the food options? Just out of curiosity.
Noodles. We have eggs sometimes for breakfast. And I'm really lucky because the children, some of them don't like eggs, so they'll give me their eggs. So I'll get multiple
get
eggs
loads of protein.
Yeah. Well, I'm vegetarian, so I need it. But yeah, it was very cold. The beds are very hard and they're metal. So it's not a comforting environment to be training in. It's very gritty. And I think when people see you in this temple having, living this life, they have this idolized version of what it's going to be like if they go. And then they're met with the reality of hardcore training, of intensity, of sweating, of hard work. And they're not always prepared for that. And when they say, oh, well, sometimes I'll hear someone say, oh, when can the master tell us something like deep and spiritual? And I was like, well, you're clearly not listening, because everything he says is meaningful.
Grasshoppers missed it.
And I was like, well, you're not listening. If you've not heard him say anything that you think is useful or, learning, then you're not listening hard enough. You're not opening your mind to what they're really saying and the practice and why you have to do this one movement 100 times or 1,000 times over. I know we want to do it in a day, and I was like that when I started. I wanted to learn everything immediately. But that's not how it is in Kung Fu, and that's not how it is in life. It's a process. So that's still a valid question.
But I guess the reason why I said it's invalid is because you didn't start from an expectation. You started from a vision. Whereas in society, in general society, they'll be like, oh, what does that life look and feel like? And I think here in the West, we still don't know. You're one of a chosen few. And especially amongst females, you're the only Shaolin practitioner that I know that's spent time in a temple in China, practicing under ordained masters and monks.
So I've got to correct you there. So my school is round the corner from the temple. So while I do have a few friends who are so when I go to the temple to train, I just do that in my free time. I did make a friend who is a monk who is at the temple, but that was just from me being friendly and talking to locals. And my Kung Fu master is a master, but he is a married man with a family. And so I am hoping to, in the course of my future, learn from more masters and more people in the Shaolin community. But my training so far has been primarily in my school, just 10 minutes around the corner from the Shaolin temple. People can, I believe, train at the Shaolin temple still, but it's probably very different to how it used to be. I think it's more of a commercialized thing now. But I've been very lucky to learn under some of the best masters. So Neil up in Bristol, he is Buddhist as well, and he is a master. He's been doing it for over 50 years, and he's fantastic. So I got lucky to have the best master in China and the best master in England. So I'm very privileged.
It was meant to be. So I think the there's a beauty in that, right? You've got the Shaolin Temple, which is an entity in its own right, but then you've got all these other schools as well. Right. And I think that's the point you're trying to make, right? And as part of that, you found a school practicing Shaolin martial arts, practicing the Shaolin way, and I know you mentioned, the energetic part of things earlier on, and the martial training and the challenge and so on. Because I in 2000, I went. Was it 2003? Actually, sorry, 2003. I went to Zhengzhou. I went to the Shaolin Temple, and I remember it was like being the Enter the Dragon. When all of these, you know what I mean, don't you? Right. It was like being the Enter the Dragon, where you've got all these like terraces with like people just practicing martial arts, and I was just thinking, Wow. If something was about to kick off here, man, you know, where's Bruce? It literally like, over here there's a school and they're all wearing red. Over here is a school and they're all wearing yellow. Over here, and you know, you can't buy those outfits, you know, those uniforms, unless you're part of that school, because there's a sacredity around those uniforms. It was then. I don't know about now. I know you could buy tourist outfits and stuff that people might want to buy, but for the schools back then, it was like if you wanted a Shaolin uniform from a specific school, you had to be part of that school, you know. But there were just so many schools all around, and because it's quite mountainous around there, you could just see them for like whichever way you look, and it was like, wow, it's quite mind-opening. And then you go up to the Shaolin Temple, and it's quiet. And I remember I didn't know much about the Shaolin Temple, and internet in 2003 was quite sparse. So I remember going up there, and I was saying to Holly earlier, I think, you know, in a past life, I must have been a monk, because I went to a monk and I said, so where's the Shaolin Temple itself? Where are the people practicing? Because this isn't it. And he said, oh yeah, it's on that mountain over there.
Right.
And you mean the Shaolin Monastery?
Yeah. And it was a mountain behind it. And I was like, I knew it. And I was like, I've been there in past life somewhere. I've been there. I know it. And I really wanted to go there, but it wasn't going to happen.
That's the Songshan Walk, that one. So it's funny because obviously people in England will say the Songshan Mountains, but Shan or Shan actually means mountain in Chinese. So it's the Song Mountain. And that's the mountain that's directly behind the Shaolin Temple. And that's where the Shaolin Monastery sits, which for hundreds and hundreds of years has been visited by emperors, knights, leaders, warriors to train in Shaolin Kung Fu. So obviously we know that Kung Fu originated in India and moved across to China. But the birthplace of Shaolin Kung Fu is the Shaolin Monastery, where the Shaolin Temple is today.
Have you been there?
I've been to the Shaolin Temple lots and lots of times. Some of my videos are there, actually. We train there outside, so we'll go at like 5 a.m. when there's no tourists. And I like walking around there. Have
you been to the monastery?
Been to the monastery too, yeah. But sadly, sometimes it's not always open, so you can't actually go physically inside, but you can walk around it because it's on the mountain path around the Song Mountain. It's a beautiful walk. It's you know.
And is it true that it's the monastery where they practice the martial arts, not the actual temple part, right?
So no, they nowadays they practice at the temple.
Oh, really?
So you'll have all the schools around the temple. You'll sometimes see the children doing their running around. And then they do little shows at the Shaolin Temple as well.
Yeah, I've seen those,
And then sometimes they'll train outside the Shaolin Temple. And then they'll have rooms within the Shaolin Temple, which are training rooms for, you know, both people who are tourists going to train or people that are training.
Yeah, it's just amazing. In 2003, they weren't training in the actual temple part of it itself.
Yeah, well, for a while they stopped doing that, but at the moment there's been a new abbot of the temple. So because of these changes that have happened, I think there's a little bit of change going on right now.
Can you share with us what does a typical day training in your Shaolin school look, feel, hear, sound, taste like?
Oh, great question. I love it. We get up at 5:30 in the morning. That's when the whistle goes. And then at 5:40 is the first hour of training. So you always start by running around. But first of all, you have to line up. So you get your uniform on, you stand, you line up on time, the master comes around. If you're late, no.
Have you got time to wash up, brush your teeth?
Not really. You've got 10 minutes to, 5:30 whistle goes, 5:40 start training. So you'd kind of do that after the first hour.
Okay.
But often if you're late, someone like the Jiaolian, which is like Hoi Dong, one of our instructors, will come and wake you up and shake you. I think they've had to relax on that a little bit. But I used to be at the school when all the children were in the same dorms as us. So there was only a few foreigners and we would be with the kids. So we also had to be on time because part of the discipline of a military style school. And then we would do, every day is slightly different, but you do that for an hour.
Just running?
Not running around. That's the warm up. You do things like line drills. So you know, from jumping, from plyometrics, and then you do strength and conditioning where you'd, you know, have to kick each other and take some hits, and you do handstands and have to hold the other person. This is all before 6:30 in the morning. So that's your morning wake up.
That's your wake up call. Wow. That's a wake up call.
Yeah. It's quite intense on a Monday. Tuesdays are particularly difficult. So
why is Tuesday more difficult?
I think Monday you've just had your rest day of Sunday. So Monday's hard. Tuesday is like it just seems to feel a little bit more tough. I feel like the training's a little bit more intense, and I feel like the master will just be a little bit more sort of, you know, strict perhaps. That was just my experience of Tuesdays. And we've kind of, you know, got a bit of a set routine of what we do on different days, like whether you do your Tao Lu, which is your weapons training, whether you do Qigong. So some mornings it won't, after the run around, it won't be all the line drills. You get to do Qigong on a Friday, or some Tai Chi. But then a lot of it is, you know, weapons training, cardio games, all sorts. And then obviously acrobatics, some drills, sometimes wrestling, and then Sanda boxing, usually on Thursdays.
So you guys are always in uniform, pretty much ready to
honestly
jump into action.
Like these are my clean trousers. I've got a couple of pairs of these now. My other ones literally have like stains on from rice soup, because you don't have time to get changed, and you're just constantly doing sports. So that's just the first hour. 7 o'clock food, 8:30 till 11:30, 3 hours of training with a 10-minute break. 12 is lunchtime. So by the time you get back, you've got to eat your lunch. 12 till 2, you get a break. 2:30 till 5:30 is your last 3-hour stint. So that's 7 hours in the day. Sometimes they finish a bit earlier, like 5. But that's still 7 hours a day. 5:36, 6 p.m. comes, you get your dinner. For me, I then teach English. So straight after dinner, I have to go prepare the children's class, do the whiteboard. And then at 7:30, the kids do their class. 8:30, we finish. And then it's 9 p.m. and you shower. And then lights are out at 10. So it's a very, very full day.
Wow.
What time did you wake up again?
5:30.
Yeah. So that's like that principle of tiyar pe tiyar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like in the Sikh martial art, they have this thing that you're always ready.
Oh,
that kind of state, you know. So like getting up in the morning, just ready to come do the battle. You're gone, get out there, like the military side of it. So that's interesting to hear. Yeah.
Would you say Shaolin martial arts practice is as hard as people imagine it is?
That's a really good question.
Because, you know, when it comes to martial arts and martial artists, you know, it's almost like the Shaolin monk is like the badass, the toughest of all of them, right? You know, in some respects, you know, is for me.
Oh, I'm really happy it is for you.
Is it? And that's through grueling training and all of that, you know. So it does sound like that, but, you know, is it as hard as people imagine?
It is grueling. Yeah. So I think people underestimate it. I remember this father and son duo, the loveliest pair, came to school, and they were convinced that 7 hours of exercise wasn't going to be enough for them. He's like, "Oh, can I do 9 hours? Like, is there an opportunity to do extra?" I said, let's see how your first week goes, and then tell me how you feel afterwards, okay? Couldn't manage the first hour of the first class. Had to sit out. And usually, before we started inviting lots of foreigners, you weren't allowed to sit out of class. There wasn't I've got an intro, I'm going to sit out. It was if you're here, you're training.
Yeah.
If you're living here, you're training. Doesn't matter how much your legs hurt, you're here to train.
Yeah.
So you're not sitting out, you're not sitting on the side, because it also brings the morale of the class down. But obviously, if you're training 7 hours a day, that's one day. The next day you're training 7 hours. The day after that, you're training 7 hours. You're doing that for the whole week. What about the next week? You're training 7 hours. It is intense. I have a permanent injury in my left thigh. And, you know, I've still got pain in my shoulder from being beaten with a stick. But you kind of just learn to overcome it and deal with it. But yes, it's grueling. Yeah, it's hardcore.
You have to be, right? Like it's warrior training.
Of course it is.
Right? Ancient times, you had to be on it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's the military side of things.
I love it. Though.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
I'm not probably not as fit as you, but I still like the idea of I've wanted to do it one day. You know?
Yeah.
Honestly, if I could just drop everything and just go.
I'm gonna have to build up to it slowly, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's tough. I think you're right though. You know, like you get foreigners come down and they've got this false perception that they could handle 9 hours and they can't even do one. There's just cause there not to let externals in the first place, because they haven't kind of been pre-qualified in a sense to have the right, or the privilege actually to put it more correctly. The privilege to train in those kind of establishments. Whereas, in the West, there's an expectation. I'll give you my money. I expect this, that, and the other. But in the East, you've got to earn your right to get in. And I get it that they're opening the doors to allow visitors to come in and to try it.
It's a way of life, though, isn't it? It's like that's what it is.
But you see, there's a sacrifice, isn't it? You have to give up something to open a door, and I get it why the doors are closed so long, and I hope the audience understands that the doors are closed for a reason, because they didn't earn the right to be there. They didn't have the minerals to be there.
There's a lot to say in that. I think I am very fully two minds about it. One side of me believes I think it is fantastic that we can encourage people to do sport and to get there and to train in China.
Yeah.
There's another part of me that did find it very difficult when suddenly there were lots of foreigners there who didn't take it seriously. And while it's definitely great to have fun and enjoy it, people weren't on time. People wouldn't show up to the training session. People would sort of sit out, and because of that, it brought it down to a bit where now the Chinese boys won't train with us. Yeah. Because actually the training that they do is super regimented. So now the foreigners won't have to train as much, and there's now less training and things because they probably couldn't keep up or handle it. But they want to be able to open it to more people and more people to have that experience. But it does distill the hard work that goes into it.
The fact that they've opened up to the main class is a huge, huge privilege. It's not a right, to do that. Do people have to pay money to be part of that, so they're contributing something towards their teachings?
Yeah, so if you go to the school, obviously there's a fee to go to the school. For me, it's slightly different because obviously I'm teaching English to the children. I have a very good relationship with my master in the school.
You're giving something back to them.
Yeah, I'm in a very privileged and special position compared to some of the others. Yeah. But I think it's great that we can encourage people to come.
That's your bag of fruit.
That is absolutely my bag of fruit. Those are my red grapes. Yeah. I am so lucky that my master in my school, they love me and I love them, and I'm super privileged and so happy that I can go there and feel like it's a home for me. I feel welcome there. Yeah.
For the listeners and viewers, the bag of fruit refers to back in the day, if somebody wanted to learn martial arts or to learn something from a teacher, they didn't necessarily have a financial exchange. You'd take a bag of fruit and vegetables or some kind of foodstuffs, and you'd give that so they could feed their family, and they would use their time to feed your mind.
Even a promise, your word that one day I might ask for something. You have to help me, or sort it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With what the Shaolin schools are doing over there, I hope the Western world realizes what they've opened up to, because this is huge. It's gold right there for the taking, but it shouldn't be abused either. People should be prepared, to work hard and be in some kind of shape to handle a 7-hour day without being deluded about trying to do 9 hours. Not taking anything away from that father and son, that went. But there's a gravity in this situation. That gravity is built around integrity and respect, and to honor that, you've got to understand what's involved and build up to it so that you can actually contribute and be part of that. Otherwise, it's taken away, stealing away from what they're offering you. And like you felt, there's a diminishing. There are the local kids that you said are training there. They don't want to train with them because it's taken away from them. It's reducing their training. That's sad. And they might take it away at some point. So if for those people that do want to train, be serious about it, man. I know we live in a 3-second world here, or a 3-minute world where we expect everything right now. But I think you need to do a bit of a paradigm shift, because that world lives in a different paradigm. And that paradigm means that we need to start thinking differently, because we don't think that way in the West. And this, with the self-mastery teachings that we're trying to share, we're trying to tell and share people that actually, you know what, there's a different way of thinking.
It's about sharing culture. And I think that's another really important thing. I love Chinese culture, and I love the food. I love the level of respect that we have for each other in that community.
Yeah.
And I think something that I notice when people come to my school is they want to do their own thing. They want to play their music really loud by themselves and, whatever. But it's like, actually, this is a school. This is still, even though you're on holiday, this is a school where there are children living and learning. And you've got to be respectful and at least learn how to say ni hao or, ni hao. Something,
True.
Do you know what? You're 100% right. I've spent some time in spiritual monastery in the UK here. And the first time I went, I remember there was one of the monks that was there. He didn't really like the tourist monks, right? Right. He didn't really like them, and he didn't really have much time for them. And it wasn't until I kept showing up that he warmed to me a year and a half down the line. Is because he felt that they were taking away or stealing some of the essence of their values and the integrity of what they had created there.
Yeah.
And you don't really want to be in a position where that's happening, because I'm described myself as a tourist monk there for a moment. It's not a nice feeling, right? But that's because there's some people that are not serious about it.
Yeah. I think as long as you approach everything with integrity and kindness, then you can do well in life.
Yeah. What's next for you?
Oh, there's a lot of things going on. The next thing is I'll probably be taking a flight back out to China very soon to go back to my school again.
Yeah.
Get more training in, and I'm kind of in this middle position where I'm getting ready to move on from, having to split my time between Shaolin Kung Fu and work. And so I'm trying to figure out a way right now so I can just focus on Kung Fu full time.
Yeah.
And I am kind of getting into some stunt work and some acting.
Yeah.
So I've got a few cool projects happening at the moment. And I also have been sort of doing some Kung Fu teaching at my school in Bristol to help with the children's classes. And I've realised that I really love that. So I'm not going to say too much about the exciting things coming, but stay tuned. And
watch this space.
Yeah, watch this space.
And you've got an amazing channel on Instagram. You want to tell us about that so people can look you up and see what's happening in Holly's world with the Shaolin Adventures?
It is like Shaolin Adventures. I love that. I have my Holly Confused account. So that's Holly Confused on both TikTok and Instagram. And it just kind of documents some of my my training, my training progress. I include some tips.
So that's HOLLYKUNGFUSED.
Yes. Like Kung Fu, but Holly Kung Fu.
Kung Fu's, all right. So I
I'm
wanted to
sure if you
clarify
Google
that
Holly
just in
Kung
case,
Fu, I'll come up.
So there's a beauty in that. It was something that we spoke about earlier on, how through your Shaolin journey, through your martial process, that is Holly kung fus, you're taking, you're providing clarity through a journey that, you know, you're not necessarily clear about at the beginning, right? But you've got this unwavering faith that you're being directed on a certain path, and you're just following it, and it's unraveling and making sense as the path unravels ahead of you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'd love to see how that, you know, journey progresses, and, you know, we're going to be here to support you. You know, we've got a tradition here. We've got 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
Right. One is a question that we get AI to come up for you. Right. So, you know, we'll see like, what does AI think you should ask Holly? Right.
Okay.
And then we have a question from our previous guest as well.
Brilliant.
Right? So our signature AI question is, Holly, if an AI could study every hour you've trained, every challenge you've faced in China and England, and every moment you wanted to quit but didn't, and it could distill all of that into one message for the next generation of female martial artists, what do you think that message would be?
Oh, that's so interesting. The message would be persevere when the going gets tough. Keep going, believe in yourself, keep training, keep climbing that mountain that you're overcoming, and learn who you are through the process to become the best version of yourself.
Is it a real mountain or a metaphorical mountain? How does mountain present itself in your life, Holly?
It's both. There are many mountains in the world. There are many mountains in your life. You've got your physical mountains, your metaphorical mountains, whether they're the obstacles you've got to overcome, or the mountain you need to climb on a Wednesday because of its training.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's amazing.
Climb your mountains.
Keep going, girls. And then we've got a question from our previous guest, right? And that question was really simple. What scares you?
Everything scares me, actually. I'm one of the people that the older I get, the more afraid I get of things. I'm terrified of heights. I never used to be. Never used to be terrified of heights.
But she likes climbing mountains.
But I climb mountains. I've done skydiving. I've been bungee jumping. You only live once, so you've got to enjoy it.
But you're clearly ascending higher and higher. So embrace the heights, right? And you've only just started, Holly. And, you know, I would wish you all the best in...
Thank you.
You know, soaring higher and higher and higher, spreading the amazing warmth and love and energy that you've got, right? With your Iron Man arc energy generator out there doing its thing. You think it's decommissioned, it's not really. It's triggered.
It's got my chi in it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So just keep putting that out there, and you know, we will be following you. We'll be here to support you. We're really fascinated about your future adventures, and watch your space, because, you know, there's lots of exciting stuff that we want to do together as well. So
Brilliant.
Thank you so much for coming on our interview today, on our podcast today.
Thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
It's a shame, this thing called time, eh?
I know, but thank you so much. And onwards and upwards.
And on that note, folks, we hope you enjoyed that Martial Mind Power podcast. And we're bound by time. So we could carry on forever, but we got to go. So until next time, thank you very much.